University of Missouri Healthcare knows you've got better places to be than in a hospital. That's where our world-class technology and highly skilled medical team come in. We get you home sooner. That's important to you and those who wait for you.
Rufus, guess who's home?
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends. Thursday, May the 17th. We've got one guest, but one very knowledgeable guest. A retired professor, University of Missouri.
Hi, Paul.
Mel Zelenak, good to have you here. And we have to talk about money when you're on. And today you want to talk about buying a house?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit. We just help someone go through the process of potentially purchasing a house. And as I went through the process, I noticed some things that maybe we should think a little bit more about when we're going through the home buying process.
Okay, like what?
Well, last time we did talk a little bit about real estate in general, and I thought we would pick up on that. But I'm going to ask you three questions related to real estate, and then we'll get into other areas as well if we have time. Here's number one, the question number one. A realtor shows you a home you are considering buying, and the asking price is $170,000. You want to submit an offer for $140,000. But the agent won't let you submit that offer because it's too low. And anyway, the agent notes that the higher offer was rejected already. Is that agent doing anything wrong?
Well, I would think that if that was the offer you wanted to submit, that you have every right to offer make that offer.
You mean you have a legal right to do it?
Well, yeah, wouldn't you?
Well, the Realtor Code suggests that indeed you do have that right. And probably that realtor, when they dissuaded you, was probably violating the code of ethics there. I have a friend with Remax Boone Realty, his name is Guy Long, and he mentioned that even if you submit an offer for $1, they're required to submit that, as long as it's in writing, submit that written offer to the seller.
So you have a legal right to submit whatever offer you want to submit.
Yes, but what about that second part, that an earlier offer had been rejected for a higher price than you were offering? I mean, doesn't that add anything to the dynamic?
Well, aren't there two types of agents, a seller's agent and a buyer's agent?
Well, there's multiple types of agents, but yes, there are buyer agent and seller agent.
And the buyer's agent is working for the person who's trying to buy the house, while the seller's agent is working for the person who is selling the house. And they don't have to reveal to the buyer any confidential information. Is that correct?
That's essentially correct. They do have essentially a fiduciary relationship with the seller in the circumstance you just enumerated. So, but the point is that, and that's another very good point here, you should realize that if you don't have a buyer's agent and the person is indeed working for the seller only, you should not divulge any information to that individual at all about what you're willing to pay. For example, in my case, if we were offering, if we had this seller's agent only and we were offering 140, but I said, you know what, I really like this house and I'm going to go up to 170, they would have an obligation to go back to the seller and say...
So should you ask an agent, are you a seller's agent or a buyer's agent?
They should disclose that to you as soon as you start visiting with them.
But if they don't, you need to ask.
You should ask, yes. And you know, you bring up another interesting point. There are some fairly substantive reasons to get a buyer's agent, because that person then is truly working for you. And generally speaking, you're not going to have to pay a commission on that unless the other side refuses to pay the commission. So that may be something to consider. And then, of course, there's more than that. There's dual agencies and so forth. But anyway, so what would you do in this case? What I would suggest you do is just go to another realtor.
If they said, yeah, we don't want to submit that. That's exactly what I would do.
And one other point that I want to bring up, and it has to do with the higher offer that was made. Keep in mind that things change. Even if a higher offer were made last week, the situation with the seller may change, or you may have a better financial position. You may be able to even pay cash. And if you're willing to pay cash and the other higher offer was going to put down 5% or had to get bank financing and so forth, that could scuttle the deal as well. So it's not only the asking price, there's many other variables in that transaction.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yes. Okay, so then you do decide to contact another realtor, and the realtor does indeed do his or her job and offers and makes the offer. And after some negotiation, the agreed upon price for this $170,000 asking price is $155,000. In a standard real estate contract, you typically have an inspection clause.
Right.
And you don't know any inspectors. So what should you do? Should you ask the agent now who's the good inspector?
If it is the buyer's agent, I guess it would be okay.
Well, in this case, though, it probably would not be the buyer's agent.
Well, should you go to the bank then? Go to your bank?
Well, why not go to this person? This person's an expert.
Go to which person?
The person the realtor who's selling you this home.
No, I wouldn't go to the...
Why not?
Because they have a vested interest in selling the house.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. But you know, we've had the experience where if you ask that question, they are going to make the suggestions. And you're right, they have a vested interest in there. And logically, very often, they will suggest somebody who maybe they know or they know is kind of an easy inspector because they want the deal to go through. And that's human nature. If I were a realtor, I would do the same thing.
We all do that, exactly. But since you're the buyer, you really have to be careful at what you're doing and make sure that you think things through and not jump. But Mel, we've got about 30 seconds left here.
Okay. Okay, you have very good credit and you want the best financing possible. You go to your banker and an interest rate is quoted at 5%, 20% down, and so forth. So you've known this banker for a long time. Do you go to that banker for that loan?
You mean if you can find a lower rate?
Well, that's my question. A lot of people will just go directly to the banker.
I would shop around and see if you can find a lower rate. And many times your banker friend will match that rate.
Boy, you're smart. You're smart.
Well, I know.
Don't forget to go online as well.
Yeah.
We've purchased properties where we've gotten financing online, and it's really worked out very well for us.
Okay.
You do the locally, you close locally at one of the title companies here.
Okay. Mel, thank you so much for coming by. We're out of time. If people want more information, it's
cruise@centurytel.net.
Mel Zelenak, retired professor, University of Missouri. Always a pleasure to have you here. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you.
Tomorrow, Major Kendall Matthews, Salvation Army, is our guest. We remind you our program brought to us, our director, I guess he's bringing us the program, he's directing it, Travis McMillan of the Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers from KBIA. Our floor director is Danny Matteson. And our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser. Watch this program or listen to it again. Go to kbia.org. Sign up for a free podcast or a vodcast. Bye-bye.